guess we are recording. Bum, bum. I think we owe the people a bit of an apology, Jeremy.
Go on.
Well, we didn't have a show last week. Jeremy was out of town.
Where was I?
And I was, and Jeremy was out of town.
I don't know where I was. It's been a very interesting and very fast week. 10 days. And it's going to get faster, you know.
As we get closer to the draft, or because of just this is your busy time?
Both. And this year I made a concerted effort to make sure that we do more of this, you know, on a weekly basis.
And so far, so good.
Yeah. You know, we've been able to get in the studio. Going to have to do a little more remote, you know, going forward for the rest of the summer. At least a little bit. Sundays I should be able to be around.
Well, I do have to tell you that there's probably about a couple of weeks I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be somewhere else.
Well, you know, that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there.
Should we get a guest host?
Nah.
Do you want to just do it?
Nah. No. I'll be honest.
I think that answer reveals quite a bit about the mechanics behind the extra bases.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I got one job here. You know, that's show up and talk baseball. The rest of this stuff, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. You know, I kind of rely on you for that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep relying on you for that. And if we're not able to do it, we're not able to do it.
Okay. All right. I think on Wednesday, June 12th, something very interesting happened, and I think it reveals the state of the Houston Astros, and I think it reveals how the Astros feel about the state of the Houston Astros.
Okay.
In a loss to the San Francisco Giants, Framber Valdez pitched 4 innings, and he was removed after just 59 pitches. Joe Espada later saying that he removed Framber because he felt it was the best way for the Astros to win the game. And I went ahead and thought, 59 pitches, that's not a lot for Framber Valdez. So I went back and looked at every single game log. The last time Framber Valdez was pulled after 59 pitches was July 28th, 2020. And I'll take it one step further. Framber Valdez, in a regular season game, has not been pulled throwing less than 70 pitches since July 28th, 2020. When you pull a guy after 59 pitches in the regular season, that's almost like postseason baseball. That's what you do during the postseason. And I think that speaks volumes about the hole the Astros are in and the sense of urgency that this team now must play with.
What was Framber's rookie year? Was it 19? Does that sound right?
18, maybe.
18. So right early in his career was the last time that happened. He's been kind of a workhorse since then.
And also 2020, when you consider the pandemic,
yeah.
They come back. They were probably easing guys back in a little bit.
Sure. So it's been a minute.
I mean, Framber Valdez in the regular season, and I would argue that for the Astros as a whole, when you look at how this team, and I think baseball in general, at least the veterans, their job, if they don't have it, is to gut through it and gut through 5 innings, maybe 6, get up to 100 pitches, and then not tax the bullpen. I mean, that Justin Verlander talks about it all the time. He doesn't have his best stuff. Maybe he's losing. All right, my job now, yes, it's always to win, but it's also to save the bullpen and help the guys out in the bullpen.
I think the Astros have to know there's a sense of urgency. There has to be a switch in how they approach things all across the board. They haven't made the one switch they still need to make. I mean, I'm looking at this thing. It's getting worse by the day.
Do we need to go?
Nah, everybody knows.
I mean, listen, man, I looked at that, Ross. I looked at that batting order today, and I was like, are you kidding me?
It's worse by the day.
Who can look themselves in the mirror and put that on a lineup card and think, oh yeah, this is really going to help us.
Well, there's one guy,
and I understand apparently, and I understand that they're playing shorthanded due to injuries, but my goodness, we've gone from this idea of hitting our best player second, and now we're not hitting him second because, I mean, right now, Jeremy Pena and yes, Jordan, But Jeremy Pena, for the longest time, has had one of the best batting averages in baseball.
One of the best seasons in baseball so far. So certainly as far as this club is concerned.
And and let me preface that by saying I don't have a problem with hitting Alex Bregman second. I don't. But I think when you look at the whole lineup and the way this thing is constructed,
it's almost like somebody's got something against Jeremy Pena. And I say that because John Singleton, God bless him, should not be hitting ahead of Jeremy Pena in this lineup if we're going to stack hitters the way we have all year. Right? I mean, at what point is there a consistency with it?
There's no consistency.
Correct. And so we're not even talking about the philosophy being the same. Like if you're going to get somebody out there went home, okay, and they took their video game controller out and they sat down, maybe it was MLB The Show, maybe it was a different game, who knows, but they sat down with their video game and they started creating players and they started using a Kyle Tucker, who's Jeremy Pena, Altuve, whoever. And they started trading guys, moving Mike Trout to the A's and whatever they did, right? And then they decided that just because a guy got hurt and had to leave the game, that, he can come back 4 days later and there's no problem. Or he can back tomorrow and it's a video game, no one gets hurt. Or like a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in the boxing match where the guy gets knocked out and he's back playing with him 4 seconds later. That's not how baseball works. Human beings, not fictional characters, human beings have to recover. Kyle Tucker had to recover. Bregman has had to recover. Javier, Urquidy, Verlander, Garcia, McCullers, we can just keep going. They all had to recover. You don't have all your personnel at your disposal every single day. You can't treat them as if they're robots. And so if you're not going to put, and I have no problem with Bregman hitting second either, by the way, none. I just don't understand why we're getting away from what we should be doing, especially with the pitching where it's at now. Because now it's dinged up.
Yeah, I just don't feel like we've just continued to beat this, but that's the crazy part of it. That's the crazy part of it.
Deserves it.
But do you think that is a sign of today that the Astros really realize the hole that they're in? And that they need to win series and stack games. And they've lost 3 or 4 now following this road trip in which they probably should have been 5-1.
I think they're simply put out of excuses. I think this is a team, and I said this to Jason off camera, and those of you that pay attention I'll say it on camera too if it needs to be said. I don't I can't remember a front office, even the guy that I don't like at all in Luno. I can't remember a front office group, and I know Dana personally, and this is not who Dana is. Like I know this isn't who Dana is. That just lies to you. They just sit there and they lie to you. His bat speed. That's the problem. His bat speed. No, his bat speed's fine. It's just timing. Okay, sitting like $160. Might be nice when I say that. And as Jason pointed out, most of his production's the other way.
Yeah, I posted on X that his spray chart, until he had that double down the left field line, basically he hadn't pulled a ball in play as a base hit all season.
So you know what that's called? That's called gaslighting. What we can all see, it's like we're not blind. And keeping information confidential is one thing. That's one thing. Outright lying to you is something else. And James Click never did that. That's not in Dana's nature. When it comes to Dusty would tell you what he thought, right? I mean, AJ Hinch would tell you what he thought. He may not. AJ Hinch stood up there and said some things in New York that kind of bit him, but he'll still tell you what he thought. He'll still stand together as a unit, and then when you get the information, it's not gonna lie to you. Luno didn't lie to you. He told you what you need to know, and then he gave you more. And that's a guy that I'm on record. I'll say it again. I don't like that. I didn't like him one bit. Didn't, but I respect the fact that they weren't just outright in your face treating you like you were stupid. Okay, this club's doing that a little bit, and I think that the panic button, if you will, to borrow the phrase you've had us down Sports Extra a few times. I'm not saying it's pushed. It certainly tickled. It certainly tickled today. Tickled the button.
The hand is over. Remember that? Press your luck. No whammies. No whammies. No whammies.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's what they're doing. You take Framber Valdez out of the game at 59 pitches. We can all see it, whether you say it or not. And there's some other media members in the community. I've sat back and I've had some fun because last 6-7 years, people haven't interacted much. Like if you watch on social media,
no,
you've had you know, the MLB.com guys, they do their stuff. And like the writers, you know, they do their stuff. And the TV person, they stay in their own box. You know what's happening this year? Everybody's talking. And they're sharing info. ESPN 97.5. We're going to get, you know, Paul Gallant, PG. Those guys are talking, man. They're talking with us. We're going back and forth. They're citing, this guy said this guy said that. You know, it's interesting because we're all looking at each other like, do these guys just think that we're just not seeing it? We can't smell it. We don't know what's going on. Somebody up there is telling you what to do, and they're wrong. And you're how many games in now? 70? We're 70 games in? 31 and 37?
31 and 38 today.
38. So that's 69 games, and you can't figure it out? How many one-run games have you lost?
A lot.
A lot. And if you win half of those, where are you? You're over 500 in a bad division, by the way. No one thought the AL West would be this bad. It's a bad division. No one thought it would be this bad. So the AL East does this, it's competitive. They're slugging it out. The AL West does this, no, this is a bad division. So when it comes to what's going on, the whole original point of this was, are they on the pen? Yeah. Yeah. They're sitting there going, man, we got to deal with a fan base who is letting us hear it now, which we talked about.
When those batting orders get posted,
oh yeah,
the comments,
it's rough, and it's not problem 201 anymore. Imagine that.
No,
it's not problem 201. One of these days. Aha. So as we get into that, you know, as you look at this team, and no one in this city who's here wants to see these guys play bad. I mean, it's been a long time in good baseball. Hey, man, I like going to the playoffs and keep going to two. You know? Man, it's going to be rough. It's a rough second half ahead of these guys if they don't straighten this out. They got to fix it. They said Kyle Tucker Friday, maybe? Supposed to come off Friday?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was limping during
Yeah. They hadn't even swung a bat yet.
He 5 and 14 in one-run games this year. 5 and 14.
Yikes. And if
take 7 of those losses, you'd be at 500.
Right. Oops. I don't know what to say, man. You know?
I can't wait for the book to come out someday and what these players really feel.
Well,
how these players really feel.
If you were
these are professionals, like not just professionals, like veterans. Like I imagine you could move guys around younger, but these guys have won in defined roles
every year. It's not
and
new.
Then to like, and again, I hate to go back. It's the same basic lineup from last year, and you're supposed to have a better hitting catcher.
If you go back to the one-run games for a sec, they're 5 and 14, and they're 31 and 38. So take away 4 of those losses, that's 35. Add 4 of those wins, turn those into wins, it's 35. They're 35 and 34.
You're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, they're a game over 500, and all you are is 9 and 10. You go 500 in the one-run games, and you're 9 and 10, just under 500, and you're a game over 500, and you're in a position to do something, and that's not even the games you gave away that weren't one-run games. This team is way too good. So I'm telling you, and I don't like to do this. I don't believe in the karma of it, but I'm gonna say it. Whoever's been making this lineup out at the top, who's been forcing this to go, needs to turn in their card. And by their card, I mean the card that gets them into the stadium. Stop swiping. Go to human resources. Apologize for all this optical abuse you're forcing everybody to watch. And turn in your card. And say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recede peacefully like the Homer Simpson gif where he just kind of goes back like this into the... It's terrible. And now you got pitching that was going to be a strength and really isn't now. Now you got to fight. Because Javier was a big piece. Urquidy was help. What kind of piece he is, I don't know. He's had really, really good playoff stints. He's been really good in different spots. He's been not so good in others just because of the way the stuff works, you know? But Javier is a pretty big piece. And having him wrong and having him gone is when you can't count on Lance McCullers. And I don't want to hear one person, as much respect as I have for Lance McCullers, I don't want to hear one person suggest the man should be a starter. I just shouldn't do it.
He may have to be out of necessity.
He just shouldn't do it. I mean, right now they're rolling out Blanco, Brown, Verlander, Valdez. Who's the other one?
Arrighetti.
Believe it or not, I leave him in the rotation.
Yeah, well, he's earned it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd give Garcia.
Now, you're going to run into an issue come late August, early September with the innings.
Yeah, but if you got McCullers and Garcia coming back right then, you can protect him. You know, you can use McCullers and Garcia in piggyback roles, if you will, somewhere, right? Somebody will pick up Hunter Brown, somebody will pick up Arrighetti, and you're not as lost as you thought. You lost two, you're getting two back. You just don't have a surplus anymore. So for me, and I know from what you're talking about, it's very telling what's gone on, and this organization has been they haven't been honest. They just haven't been honest. When you see some of the writers that are talking about it, some of the media personalities out there that are talking about it, that tells you, because this town, and I'm gonna say it. I'm from Los Angeles originally, born and raised in LA. My man over here is from New York.
Upstate.
Still in the city. This is cotton candy with what is going on around here. You have no idea how hard media can really be. These guys, this media, this group of contingent, they care about the players.
Respect.
Yeah, but they care about the teams. They pour their heart into covering every day and every night. They're always there. They're always busting their tail. And they're gentle. They're gentle in lots of ways. And they're starting not to be. And you know what? Deservedly so. Deservedly so. So when I see that, I kind of start smiling because, Houston fans are rougher on people than the media is here. Until now. Because it's starting to shift.
One-run games, 5-14 in 2024. They were 20-21 a year ago. What's also telling is quote-unquote blowouts, 5+ runs. This year they're 13-13, whereas last year they were 28-15.
At this point, yeah.
No, I'm just saying overall games. But anyways.
But that's part of it, man. Yeah. What happens when you don't swing the bat in the right spots and you don't pitch well.
So what do you think that the Astros, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Los Angeles Angels, the Miami Marlins, and the Cincinnati Reds all have in common? Now, on the surface, I mentioned those teams. You would think that's kind of you've got a team an organization that's won a lot. One that really hasn't in a long time, one that's gone up and down, another one that spends a lot of money on guys, and one that, one that made the World Series last year, but hasn't had a lot of success. So the Diamondbacks, the Angels, the Astros, the Marlins, and the Reds. You can tell I did not prep Jeremy for this before we started.
What do they have in common?
Mm-hmm. And you may have seen it, actually, and it's just not clicking.
I don't think I saw it. I've been pretty head down in what I'm doing. What do you got?
In the quote-unquote player survey by The Athletic, each of those teams received 3.4% of the responses. Of which team would you sign with if contracts, state taxes, and rosters were not a factor?
Wow.
They each had the same amount. Diamondbacks, Angels, Astros, Marlins, Reds. Now, I'm not saying that there's a correlation, but I can remember you sitting, I think it was at your house, and you said, guys aren't going to want to sign here, and all the fans went crazy on you. Now, having said all that, the top team was only 12.7%, the Braves, but that's still a lot more than 3.4%.
Yeah.
So it goes the Braves, Red Sox, Dodgers, Rangers, Yankees, Cubs, Padres, Phillies, and then you've got this contingent of the Angels, the Diamondbacks, the Astros,
Wait, the Red
Marlins,
Sox
and the
are
Reds.
2 on that list?
Yeah. Which is
Yikes.
survey of active players. That was
surprising.
I found it very surprising. I thought that Houston, based on the way they've won, would be higher. But I guess what really surprised me was the group of teams that were basically sharing the same
Yeah.
percentages. And this is called the MLB Player Poll 2024. Worst organizations, the most overrated peer, best vibe guy, and more. It's published on Monday by The Athletic. It's their annual edition of the Player Poll. Almost 60% of the players they spoke with predicted Shohei Ohtani would be playing for the Dodgers in 24. That's what they predicted in 23. But obviously, best player is Ohtani, according to the players. But I thought that that was really interesting that and again, it's anonymous. So like to say which team would you want to go to?
And the Astros are
The
3.4%.
Astros are, now you could argue they're in the middle of the pack, but for all the people here that think that like the Astros are this crown jewel, and second, the people in the organization who think that the Astros are a crown jewel,
Yeah, no,
that are one of the best organizations in baseball, perhaps this is a bit of a wake-up call. Actually, what's happening now is probably a wake-up call. This is more just like another alarm clock.
I think that's well said. Huh.
Now, it could be for a number of reasons, but
I think the wake up call is right for right now. I think the way you described that. I think you have that type of number. It's not. I mean, I've been to all these cities, right? I've been to all these stadiums, these fan bases.
there's the graph for you. I'm showing Jeremy.
Diamondbacks have a reputation that goes beyond the field. They just do.
Marlins.
Marlins have a reputation.
Reds have not been great, although I would argue that what great history and great baseball fans.
Yeah, there's probably some issues with I don't know. I've lived there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
You lived
now.
in Cincinnati?
Florence, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
First
That's
stop.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's right across the river.
Yeah.
So I've lived there. And then what else we got here? We got the Marlins, the Reds, the Astros, and the Angels. Well, the Angels is owner related.
Mm-hmm.
I think we see a trend here.
Mm.
Gonna stop right there.
Perhaps.
I mean, it's 4 out of 5 that have 3 out of the 4 we mentioned have the owner issue. We didn't talk about the Astros because it's a mix of things, but the Angels, Artie Moreno has a bad reputation. The Marlins, bad reputation. Diamondbacks, bad reputation. Who was the other one?
Reds.
Don't know anything about the
Yeah,
owner
no
there, but
reputation.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have the Astros, who recently, not my words, not Jason's words, although we did remark off camera that we hadn't seen him at the ballpark. I said it.
Yeah,
Where's this guy been? We haven't seen him. But what I will say is the way it's come out in the media and the way people are talking about the perception of Jim Crane is that he is being Jerry Jones-ish. Now,
I don't know if that's correct.
that's the perception. I don't know if it's right or wrong either. We haven't seen the guy around to tell you. Can't say that. What I can say is, and I mean this, Jim Crane owns the team. It's up to him. It's up to him. I don't have any issue with him doing what he wants to with his team. How that turns out is up for him to deal with, by the way, but it's his decision. And Jerry Jones, by the way, I have no problem with that either. You know why? Because I don't own the Cowboys. So I don't have a dog in that fight. If I'm a fan, I may not like it, or I may love it. But I don't like the Cowboys anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a problem with it. So I look at this and I feel like there's some unifying characteristics. My hope for this club, and there is a hope for this club, is that the baseball they're capable of playing keeps going forward. And last time we were on Sports Extra, we talked about the confidence level and what we had, and I said I wasn't sure they were going to be used right, and so I didn't have any confidence, or had kind of midway confidence. Same thing. They haven't. The longer this goes and not being used right, the worse it's going to be.
And just to not clarify, but just to give another piece of information, it was a very small sample size. It was based on 86 votes.
Yeah, that's nothing.
But I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that I've seen in my life that are based on very small sample sizes as well, and that's how things are portrayed in surveys. Another thing that was part of that was who's the most overrated player in baseball. Unsurprisingly, players were not as keen to respond to this question because it is a hard game to play.
Absolutely.
I saw one of these aggregating websites that, oh, there's an Astro on the list and blah, blah, blah. And well, he had about the same percentage. That was 3.3%, that being Alex Bregman. He plays a demanding position. He plays, he doesn't take days off. Yes, he hasn't had the results this year, but my guess is most teams in baseball would love to have the quote unquote average Alex Bregman.
Yeah, I would too.
Most overrated player was Jazz Chisholm.
I can see that.
Anthony Rendon came in
I
second.
can see that too.
Carlos Correa
I
third.
can see that too.
Tim Anderson fourth.
I can see that too.
Tied with Jack Flaherty, Pete Alonso, Clay Bellinger, Alex Bregman, Ellie De La Cruz.
You know what the first four guys have in common?
Manny Machado, Blake Snell.
You know what the first four guys have in common?
Chisholm, Rendon, Correa, Anderson. Would have anything to do with representation?
Good question. No.
Okay.
The perception of the kind of teammate and kind of attitude they have. Anthony Rendon's been maligned viciously, right, wrong, or otherwise, for not playing and not wanting to play baseball.
When he was here, he seemed like he was in a really good space, man.
He's home.
Maybe, yeah.
When it comes to Chisholm, Chisholm's got the dubstep that he does and all the extra flash, and Marlins ain't winning. That stuff don't play. Who else you got?
Flaherty.
No, who's the top four?
Oh, Tim.
Anderson. Let's move on.
It was Chisholm, Rendon, Correa, Anderson,
Just those four.
and Flaherty.
Okay, let's move. So Correa.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Plenty of perception about him and the attitude and how he handled. He was here in Houston, how he handled himself. Right. He's also hasn't stayed on the field much in Minnesota.
I wonder if that has more to do with it.
And then who's the other guy? Last one.
Tim Anderson.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, and nothing against Timmy because I loved him as an amateur, but I saw him in the elevator here and he was difficult. Not with me, just in general, and he's obviously had some issues since then. So what you're talking about is guys that maybe aren't the best clubhouse guys.
Correa is though. Correa's
perception, not the guys that are actually with him,
Yeah.
right? Perception, and I'm not saying it's accurate, but you're talking about those guys that have that type of perception, and those not surprisingly 1 through 4.
I've seen Carlos since he came back, and it was just the two of us, and he could have, but no, came right up. Anyways, boy, rough season for Tim Anderson. Have you looked at those numbers?
I really have stayed away from it. He's in Miami, right?
453 OPS, 202, 0 homers, 7 runs. Man,
It's,
that's quite the drop off, man. I mean, this guy at one time was being mentioned among the best players in baseball, and the numbers he was putting up, and it's been a very unfortunate and steep decline quickly.
Yeah,
from a player performance perspective. Do you want to speak? And I'm kind of going off the cuff with this as we have a few more minutes. I know that you were very emotional on Facebook about the death of Denny Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, I was.
Denny was a longtime scout with the Cubs, correct?
Yeah, it kind of knocked my breath out a little bit when I saw that he had passed. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm getting to the age in life where the people that were around me that helped mentor me my entire upbringing and were in my corner are going to go. It's part of it, If you're being mentored properly, the people are not your age, they're not a couple years older. They have some experience. There's somebody I know who says, I want to mentor you all the time. And he's like the same age. Like, I don't want to hear that. It's condescending.
Says that to you?
To people.
Oh.
And it's condescending. Whether it's intended that way or not, it's not the point. It's just where it comes out. But when somebody's got that much time on you, and somebody is in your corner no matter what, it changes you a little bit because the soft spot, the comfort level is what's there. I don't do a lot of personal insight into anything. Matter of fact, none of you, and I do mean none of you, have any clue whatsoever what's really going on in my personal life, and you shouldn't. You have no idea. It could be happy, happy, joy, joy in Disneyland, and it could be the other side of the sun. You got no idea. It's not your business. It's not where you are. And you'll never be able to tell by looking at me or listening to me. But what I will say about Denny Henderson is that in this post, the comments of former scouts, if you looked at it, the comments of former players, if you looked at it, the comments of people who he had been around and impacted in the Southern California baseball world and even across the country, ex-big leaguers, guys that he didn't sign, guys he did, family, scouts, people he worked against and worked with. He's the type of guy that would reach out to you to say hello, and he hadn't talked to you in a while. You know, he was the type of guy that you'd see him on the road and he'd try to buy you dinner. He was the type of guy that you know, always took a moment to see how you really were. And you know, in this game, no matter how far you go in it, there's some people that really get off on their time in it, and using it to demean others. When I say that, you know, Denny wasn't that way. Denny appreciated baseball. He appreciated everybody that had a place in it, and those that didn't. Just a good person. But when it came to our baseball fraternity, and it is a fraternity, it is a selected group of people. You didn't have to worry about being somebody you weren't. The amount of times that I can say that in my personal life, that I don't have to worry about the lights being on, literally, or I don't have to worry about being somebody you want me to be, or just think I'm gonna be. I can just drop and let myself happen. And that doesn't mean I'm being disingenuous either. You're seeing a side of me that's genuinely who I am, because but you're not seeing all of it, and you don't need to. But Denny, you could do that with, and it was confidential, and it was in your corner, and it was supportive, and he put his arm around you, and he cared how you did, and he want to talk about your bats, even if he didn't sign you. The world is a little darker for those of us that knew him. And I was struck. I was struck with the thought of how fast things go, and I couldn't get away from the fact, as you know, Aaron Rowan commented, and Rob Fick, and you know, guys from home. I couldn't get away from being a little embarrassed, because I spent so much time away from home. I spent so much time focused on the selfishness of this game and not dealing with what was really necessary back in Southern California. It doesn't mean that I'm leaving or that I don't love Houston. This is home now. It just means that there's other things to it. And when Denny went, and there was another one that impacted me pretty similar, was Marker in Time. But when Denny went, because Denny was the guy that scouted me, Denny was the guy that I worked against as a scout, Denny was the guy that at one point reached out to me for a job. When Denny went, the world changed. And we all miss him. Sam Hughes said the world was a better place with Hindu in it. He's right. It's people like that that gave me a chance to be me. And as many people out there, and you can get a little glimpse into me here for a second. As many people out there that have tried to take me down or tear me down, in ways that I didn't deserve, or just because they wanted something they couldn't get, or because they felt it was okay to steal from me, or because they felt it was okay to treat me as if I didn't deserve the basic respect of existing. When you lose somebody like Denny, who always found a way to make sure you picked yourself up and kept going and could show you that tomorrow would be better, it changes you, because you know that's gone, and all you have left is your memories, and you regret not reaching out more, not talking to him more, not checking in with those people who've been in your corner more, because they're rare. So we miss him.
It's a shame that on Baseball Reference it only lists 2 players that he signed. the biggest name, at least from what I see here, is Josh Vitters, who was a very, 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 very high draft pick. I think third overall.
Third overall, first round.
Yeah, third overall, first round. But thank you for that. These are the people that make this game go. We don't see them, but their rhythm is a part of every ballpark, every stadium, every player. They are the fabric of this game, and they do impact people. They do. That's going to do it for Extra Bases. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. Till next time, thanks for watching.